imposing their own oppressive order in Tibet. So it's a complete it's a complete distraction. And
well, I agree.
And the irony, the special irony of it is that the Dalai Lama himself is, embracing modernity and democracy. And actually, a few years back, he actually stepped down as the head of state of the exile government and just became the spiritual leader and not the political leader. And they actually elected a prime minister. So the Dalai Lama is moving away from, the theocratic, fundamentalism. And China is, imposing dictatorial rule over Tibet. So it's a completely bogus argument.
Yeah, I agree. I suspect that this move away from the theocratic style, as you characterized it, I'm not quite sure it's theocracy in the same way theocracy occurs in, say, Mississippi or Alabama.
Well, no, it isn't.
Yeah, it's a different kind of theocracy. It's a
different context. I mean, in some ways, it was closer to an actual literal theocracy because the political leader actually was held to be
a political leader.
The political leader was actually held to be, an incarnation of the Buddha. So in some ways, it was closer to a classical bureaucracy. But, the point is that, the Dalai Lama has been moving away from that and is actually, embracing secularism.
I suspect, if I may, Bill, I suspect that one of the motives for that may have to do with the fact that China is trying to usurp the position of Dalai Lama. They have their own fake Dalai Lama. And also, when the Dalai Lama,
fake Panchen Lama.
Well, all right.
They don't have a fake Dalai Lama. They have
You're right. It depends. You're right. Yes. Depends on Lama. But at any rate,
the big question is what's going to happen
later
when the Dalai Lama dies. And he's in his 80s. He's not going to live forever.
Yeah, that's the point I was getting at. And I think he doesn't want a secession that will have political power.
The Chinese are insisting that that the new Dalai Lama has got to be born within Chinese controlled territory, and so they're actually mandating that the cosmic forces of reincarnation have got to answer to the Communist Party. It's this absolutely bizarre amalgam of the outward forms of quote unquote communism with this kind of Buddhist fundamentalism. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. That's for sure.
That is pretty arrogant. And speaking of Buddhism, I'm very disappointed, of course, at the Rohingya situation, as I'm sure you are also. It gets very little press coverage, but it is a grave concern to human rights specialists. As we see in Myanmar, it's rather a disgrace for Buddhism to see monks involved in really outright genocide, and also a Nobel Prize laureate involved in cover-up and apologetics for what is certainly a genocidal situation.
Aung San Suu Kyi, yes. And the Dalai Lama back in 2015, when things were just starting very early on, ahead of the wave, when things were just beginning to heat up in Arakan state before it actually escalated to genocide, or when it was just beginning to escalate to genocide.
It seems that when genocides occur against Muslims, a lot of people tend to look away. At least that's the impression I'm getting.
Well, yes, obviously.
The former Yugoslavia.
That's right.
China.
That's right.
And what's going on with the Uyghurs is perhaps unprecedented in terms of the sheer scale and level of organization.
The Uyghurs.
Yes,
Yes.
it's absolutely appalling, and yet it gets almost no press, and including actually these tankies who we are arguing about with and criticizing. They're also quite silent on the matter.
No, they're worse than silent. I mean, I disagree with you that it doesn't get much press. The mass detention of the Uyghurs has actually gotten quite a bit of media attention in the West. But you know, these same people like Ben Norton of Gray Zone and so on, who have been you know, aggressively cheering on Putin and have been actively promoted by Kremlin state media like RT, have also been making excuses for the mass detention of the Uyghurs and the repression in Hong Kong. They're playing exactly the same kind of role, you know, vis-a-vis the Chinese state as the Russian.
So what is their argument on Hong Kong?
Oh, their argument on Hong Kong is that, you know, the protesters are all U.S. imperialist astroturf. and you know, and it's true that, you know, some of the protesters in Hong Kong have, you know, waved the Old Glory. They've waved the American flag and the Union Jack, the British flag, and they've appealed to you know, Boris Johnson and to Trump for you know, for aid and succor. And that's unfortunate. You know, I'm critical of that. I don't hold the Hong Kong protesters above criticism. But the irony is that it's a mere kind of mirror reflection of Ben Norton and the tankies, you know, looking to Putin and Xi as some kind of you know, resistance to U.S. imperialism. It's a mirror image of the same phenomenon. And,
I don't know.
And certainly I'm on the side, don't get me wrong, I am absolutely 100% on the side of the Hong Kong protesters, but I don't hold them above criticism. You know, that's an unfortunate political tendency that they have, that some of them have exhibited. And when I say I'm on the side of the Hong Kong protesters, I guess at this point I should use the past tense and say that I was on the side of the Hong Kong protesters, because the movement has been completely crushed, which is an absolute atrocity and a shame on the whole world order that, you know, the world has continued to connive with this kind of repression.